Hey there, good people. Patricia here. As you can see, we're moving around. Again, remember being flexible. So yes, you see a little different spot. Actually, back in a little piece of my office space. I haven't recorded in here in a minute, but you know, we got to do things when there's lots going on around the house. Anyway, I really and truly was like, do not know what I want to talk about today, but the song by Peabo Bryson, Keep Reaching for the Sky, just kept like coming up. And, you know, God rest his soul, like shout out to Peabo who passed recently. One of my all-time favorite balladeers, you know, who just opens his mouth and beautiful things come out of it, beautiful sounds or whatever. So it's a little bit of a tribute to him, but not really, because I then also started thinking about some of these different, you know, not little, but goals that I had for myself for this month. And I'm looking at a few of them because there was one that I was supposed to be speaking on, and I realized I haven't, and I can't because I hadn't started it. Or I should say, I started it, but I hadn't really gotten very far. And then it started getting me thinking about some other stuff, which then led me to how we got to keep reaching for the sky and honor promises to ourselves. Because it's, you know, it's important, and there's some, not just motivation, but there's some trust building that's going on, not externally, but internally, when you don't give up on yourself and your dreams and your goals just because, you know, life hits, or, you know, you got a little tired, because it happens, right? So, you know, that's what our little chat's going to be about today. And as we move forward, I would really love if you would hit the thumbs up and like button to and subscribe to push this forward and out to other folks as we continue to have conversations about, you know, real life, real work, and what it all looks like in real time. Yes, definitely. Okay, so let's talk about these goals I haven't accomplished this month. A couple of them not so big necessarily. It's just that it's something as part of a larger effort. And then another that is, right? So, and those are just the two main ones I'm thinking about. Number one, I'm thinking about this note writing challenge. I saw it on something where it was about, you know, writing a note every day, a handwritten note to someone every day, doing it for a year. And I wasn't necessarily trying to do that, but I liked the challenge because writing handwritten notes, sending handwritten notes is absolutely something that I have done as part of my networking strategy and my relationship building strategy, like for years, like since the beginning of time. It's just a part of who I am and what I've done. And in actuality, have had so much impact because I have people, you know, writing me back or making comments about my note writing back over the years, which was always funny to me. And then, you know, stuff happens. We start working from home some years ago. And here we are, a little more disconnected, and people really needing to know that someone cares and that they're thinking of them. And while I've been doing it sporadically, as I think of someone maybe or not, I had not really gotten back on it in a much more hardcore way. And so that's where it came from. That's what I wanted to do. And I was like, this is perfect. And so I thought, this is, you know, beginning of the summer, it's a great time to start doing it. And I'll go for 5 a week, and, you know, we'll do that way. Pulled the note cards out because I don't have to go buy any, because, again, I have a whole collection. I think you know, there's even like stamps and all the things. And the note cards are still sitting on the coffee table in my living room. I pulled them out several times to start. One may have even been dated. I don't know. I won't be able to use that one clearly. And I look at it and it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't done that and I really need to do that. And there we go, right? That spiraled downward into unnecessary shame about not having done something that we said we would do for ourselves and then start beating ourselves up over it. Well, here's the thing. All that's not really necessary. Yes, do I need to do a little work on like, why haven't you really been doing that? And reassess, because is it something I still care about? Absolutely. I still care about it. I'm still going to do it. It's been delayed. And quite frankly, it's simply because there's just been a lot going on in my world. My kids are home from college. One is still doing the whole moving back from the other state after graduation. And there's just life going on. And that literally has, been the thing of, okay, I need to identify the strategy of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it in order to make sure I get this done. So that whole taking one and writing one note per day, that's not going to happen, right? I do not do well with efforts like that. I have learned this about myself. Unless there is a reason for it, like let's say taking medication where you can't load up on it, because that's not how it works. Then for other things and projects, I know I generally need a block of time that I've dedicated and I say, I'm going to do this. And when it comes to writing 5 notes, here's an easy strategy that I could utilize, right? Which is, first of all, identifying what block of time or what day of the week I'm going to do that. It would seem like the easiest for me would be Networking Wednesdays, because hello, it's Networking Wednesdays. However, there are other things that I'm generally trying to remember to do on Networking Wednesdays. And so sitting down to write those notes versus, DMing people and reaching out to random people that's probably not it. So I may assign Sunday evenings as a time for that. And because that's a great way to start the week, right? Sit down, write those notes, stick them in the mail on Monday. It's done. So this is me knowing myself, acknowledging that, and then adapting the plan to address it. It can often be that easy. It really can often be that easy. And so that's my, little hack tip to yourself, which is whatever it is that you're upset or disappointed in yourself for not following through on, literally you're probably trying to make it more complicated than it needs to be, because we like to do that. Especially when there's people out there who say, oh, you need to do it this way. And a lot of times it doesn't have to be done that way. Again, unless there's some reason for sequential or a process that it has to be done in a particular way. Most times we can adapt things to what works for us, and it then becomes much easier. And so for me with this particular goal, because the desire and the purpose and the rationale for doing it has not shifted. It's not like, oh, that was just some nice little idea and I really don't want to do that anymore. No, I still am very committed to it, because for me, it's a part of my long range strategy to re-engage with people for the long term. And literally it's an experiment in seeing what happens, what develops as a result of it. And so I have to start it. The question is, what does it look like when I start it? So I think my adaptation will be sitting down, doing them 5 at a time for the week. I can gather names and things like that. I've got a running list already. And writing those note cards, if I need to make cards, because that's another thing I used to do a lot of, and I would love to reincorporate into it. So there's lots of little things that can be done at any time but I'm going to say Sunday evenings is going to be my time for sitting down to write the notes and then, sending them off and go on about my day and week. That's the revived goal and the reset on that. So I will look forward to sharing with you what that looks like and how I hold myself accountable for that. I may need to pull in one of my favorite accountability partners, a friend of mine from out of state, who we hold ourselves accountable. So she's great for helping me to hold myself accountable for things. So I will probably pull in an accountability partner so that I can keep this going. And that's another easy fix for a situation, which is if there's something that you really care about doing, then pulling in someone to hold yourself accountable throughout the process. Now, the second thing, and I'm just going to deal with these two. The second thing is a little more involved because it involves a project and a goal that has been on my plate for quite some time, that's been back there. And I had decided that this was going to be, the time to start it, right? And it involves writing and really putting pen to paper for a project that I've been wanting to write on and work through. And I even laid out a plan. It was probably way too aggressive, which is why it never really took off. And so I need to do the reassessment on it as well. Because again, when I go through the initial evaluations, do I still care about it? Absolutely. Do I still want to set a timeline to get it done? Yes. And is it completely possible and feasible to happen? Yes. But I haven't probably put all the proper structures in place to make it come to pass. I'm not being real specific about some of it because, there's always someone who's like, oh, well, yes, I can help do it. I'm like, I don't want to be sold on this right now. I've already identified some programs or people who focus on this that could help me. And I might need to go back and reassess those and then decide, okay, is it time to really pull in? Because this is one of those that really will require some type of accountability, even if it's working through a lower commitment program. Because I'm not really I'm not currently in the mode for wanting to do some high intense program thing. That's not where I am right now. I have actively been taking a break from programs on purpose so that I can lean into the knowledge, the skills, the experiences I've already had, because I don't necessarily need to learn something new. I need to implement what I already have. So that's it. But for this particular writing project, it is something that's going to take time and that does need to be broken down, and that to some degree there's some processing that needs to be done as far as things in a particular order per se. And that may be what I'm just kind of fighting against internally, right? Because I just described to you, like, I like to just sit down and just do the thing. And this is not one of those type of projects, right? It does require some deeper thought, definitely a span of time for sure, right? So it still requires a span of time. And I think I'm going to need to get outside of my usual surroundings to dedicate the time for this particular project. And so that may be one of the things I need to take a look at, what that looks like, where I'm going to go so that I can dedicate that time. And which then means, of course, this is not one of the things I'm doing a little bit every day, right? So it may not work for that. I may need to figure out how I adjust that to maybe one chunk of time once a week. I've seen people who do like a weekend thing once a month, which is fascinating to me. And that's a whole other level of commitment. And I think it's something I would enjoy to like get away for a weekend, hole up in a hotel and really dig in. Like that's something, some chunking that I think sits well with me. But then it also needs to fill into like, what is your real timeline for getting this project done, right? So I need to sit down and reassess with that. Definitely talk to some people. I have a couple of people who've done similar projects that it's now way past time for me to have conversations with. So reaching into my network to get that support, to get some insight is definitely something that I need to do that I had not done. And use that as some, again, not just motivation, because that can go, and not just inspiration, but some real insights so that I can know how to move the project forward and do it in, I still would like to do it in a somewhat expedited time frame. I don't want it to go on for years. It's been sitting on my, on my proverbial table for years. So I do want to put some guardrails around it. But I do know that the guardrails need to work for me and honor what it is I'm trying to do, knowing that there's other things I'm working on as well. And that's that piece, is sometimes we beat ourselves up about not getting something done or not doing it, when we really need to be recognizing, how much do you have on your plate already? Like, how much are you setting on your table to do, and then beating yourself up because you can't, it's not realistic, right? And maybe you haven't laid out really specific time frames, guardrails in order to make things happen, and made it more realistic for you, not for what works for other people. And this is that reminder all the time, because it is so easy to get caught up in other people's stuff and be like, oh, well, so-and-so did it this way. Who cares? Can you use that as inspiration? Can you use that for insight? Yes. And where there's a process that's needed, sure. But does it mean that you need to do it exactly like them or you're a failure? No. Use those other opportunities as a source of information, as learning, and then figure out what applies best for you in your situation today. Because when I tell you what things look like today versus 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago are so different. And we need to be realistic about that, because sometimes we're dealing with ourselves in a framework today when you're still trying to apply something as if you're in a situation or a mindset from 5 years ago. And that's not going to work. That's a whole other conversation. So those are my two kind of situations where I'm like, hey, you still get to reach for the sky. I am still reaching for the sky on these projects. There are things that I still want to do. And it's a matter of recommitting to myself what it is that I want to do, and how can I honor that promise and build that trust in myself that I can make this happen. Because that's the other piece. Now, this is where some reflection time does matter, because sometimes we need to be reminded, like, yeah, you can do hard things, you can do challenging things, and we need to take a little look back, a little look back over our life about what some of the things that we've engaged in, and remember and realize, like, oh yeah, I did that. Something that you just kind of like blow off right now. It's like, so whatever you're dealing with or whatever you're seeing as a challenge to move forward on right now, yes, it may be challenging in today's time, but you more than likely have the skill set, the knowledge, the abilities to bring forward into this time, to apply it so that you can move forward and get this done. And so that's what I'm doing. So I will be keeping up. I will be checking in on this on a regular basis now. That's going to be a part of my accountability, is feeding that in here and reminding you that those goals and promises that you keep and make for yourself, that you make for yourself, you can keep. right? And I'm going to encourage you to keep reaching for the sky each and every day. Remember to celebrate who you are, all the things that you are doing and can do. And we will check in with you in the next video.